What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the fourth album by rock band Panic at the Disco. Basically this product is called Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, and it came out in the fall of 2013. So the thing about this particular product here is Panic at the Disco is a pretty huge emo rock and alternative rock smash back in like the mid 2000s. Particularly I reviewed some of their early albums back in 2022. 2023 within pitches like that. I reviewed later products by them, including like the one they did for like the Jennifer's. They did like a hit single for like the Jennifer's Body soundtrack, which I reviewed, and then I also reviewed Vices and Virtues from 2011, not too long ago, like in early 2024. But this pitch behind, I want to get to some more Panic at the Disco. Unfortunately, they have not continued to drop music since about 2022, but it's within the pitch behind it. And really to say within the concept behind it, in a lot of senses, it really just became Brendan Urie as far as this pitch kind of happened. But this is one of the last products that had Brendan Urie as like a band set as far as this pitch going to happen with his band Panic at the Disco. So within the fair here is looking after it. I look within the pitch behind it, but this is easily kind of like a classic here for Panic at the Disco. The concept about it is they kind of had like not necessarily here and there popularity, but I think in a lot of senses just the way that they exploded on the scene with like their 2005 album Fever You Can't Sweat Out. It's just within the pitch that had a lot of memorable tunes on there, like I Write Sins Not Tragedies, some of those type of ones. I have a lot of the singles off that album on my MP3 player as far as this pitch can happen. But back in those days they kind of had lengthier names within some of those type pitches. There's like one that's like the only difference between Suicide and Martyr, something like that, is within those pitches they had some lengthy type ones. They kind of did similar stuff to like Fall Out Boy within those fairs, but they do that particular album from 2005 is pretty hit type of feel within the pitch behind it. Pretty Odd was pretty good. Their second album, Pretty Odd, was a nice pitch as well, but it kind of switched it up to like more kind of Beach Boys, maybe not necessarily Beach Boys, but just kind of Beatles-esque kind of psychedelic rock type of feel about it. It's a little bit differential type of feel. But then Vices and Virtues was basically like a redux, I would say, a real excellent redux of like Fever You Can't Sweat Out within the same type theater type draw. Now this particular product doesn't have the theater type feel of their 2005 and 2011 albums, but this is like a real neo surf kind of like electronica type album, very similar to Blood on the Dance Floor and Breathe Carolina. Some of those type folks in particular, real excellent type fare, just nails it particularly well. Just really surfs kind of like the dance floor, and the night scene just does it excellently with the pitch. So if you like the night draw, I mean, it doesn't have as much restaurant, particularly their 2013 album doesn't have as much restaurant music this time compared to ones from like some of the songs like Build God Then We'll Talk off of their 2005 album, just within the pitch. Some of that restaurant type fare, thinking of like places like McAllister's and places like that, TGI Friday, some of those type fares within the pitch behind it. Not quite as much like 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock p.m. type outings within the pitch. It does have a pretty, like I said, it's just a consistent kind of night outing type fare, just really great for between probably like, I would even say in certain senses some of this can be Wednesday type fare. It does have a little bit of makeshift in here, but it just basically immersed within like the nightlife type fashion, just having like a pretty bound, just within the concept of just having like some consistent outings. It's a good type concept. Really, the aspect behind it is a real butter smooth type aspect that just nails the particular appeal. There's a nice amount of glitz, and just the stardom on here is pretty balanced. So it's just a concept. This is probably what Blood on the Dance Floor would have been like had they been a lot more commercial within the sense as far as those aspects kind of went. It's just the same sort of tone, just nails it particularly well. Very much like some glitzy typeness, also similar to like vibes like LMFAO and Pitbull, just not as hip-hop oriented. I mean, this is kind of a mild hip-hop type out. It does have like some relative hip-hop-esque type fashions, just kind of within the pitch. It is something probably would be in like a more pop rock type fashion, but this does have that glitzy kind of electronica type fashion similar to LMFAO and Blood on the Dance for some of those type pitches. So it works pretty well. But basically, out of the 10 songs on this particular album, I wound up recommending 9 of them. So there's only real one true tune off these particular songs on this album that I didn't recommend full blown. So like I was saying, this album gets a 10 out of 10. The aspect, like I was saying, it didn't have like the theater type aspect, but I look within the tone. I think branching away from that was just as fine, just within the aspect. I kind of feel like this is an album that did have some charting singles within the pitch behind it, kind of within the relative type territory of their 2005 and 2008 albums within the pitch behind it. But just the concept, I think the distinction, like I just question like the oftenness. The most popular song on here was basically Miss Jackson, but just maybe it was This Is God. It was one of the first 2 singles, Miss Jackson or This Is Gospel. But within the pitch, both those did not really crack like the top 60 of the Billboard 100. But it's just within the pitch that really the singles off of A Fever, You Can't Sweat Out were Billboard 100 singles as well, but most of them didn't. Most of those singles off that 2005 album didn't really break through heavily on the Billboard 100 either within the pitch. So it's just good type tone. But yeah, basically all the songs on here, 4 singles. There was a Nicotine EP that came out later on, which was kind of like a bolsterment to this particular one. I'm gonna check real quick, just being able to. Yeah, I'm going to have to get to that Nicotine EP because it does have some bonus stuff on there as far as what's first going to happen. But basically, to look after it here, all 4 of the singles I recommend. So the only song I don't recommend is not any of the singles, but this is the pitch as far as saying. So Miss Jackson's a real nice one. It's like a night venue kind of loud pack, I'd have to say here. Just basic groove and foot tap, I'd have to say. Basically, Miss Jackson, the lead single, is like a night venue kind of loud pack, I'd have to say here. Just basic groove and foot tap, I'd have to suppose about this one. Just sports bar and romp scene kind of pitch. With this particular song is some sports bar and romp scene kind of saunter to kind of get within those pitches. So this is just a typical type one within the fashion. A little bit more spicy within the pitch. Kind of like the concept of the songs from Vices and Virtues, just with a little bit more aspect of like a sports bar, places like Wingstop, some of those type places, more kind of just dinner and late lunch, dinner type fashions with more of like a sports bar, college bar type fashion. Some of those type places where you'd be more on like the night scene, like the typical kind of traverse of it. Places where you get wings and nachos and popcorn, some of those type places within the tone behind this. And basically dinner and a show, some of that particular type fare, or just the relative kind of scene is just as far as like some night pizzazz, as far as those pitch kind of having this basic social mingle, the type concept. It's a real relative type one. This was not as dance oriented, but there is a lot of songs in this particular album that get towards that. So it's just basic night scene type fare, just the commerce of it, just out and about. This is Gospel, the second single here, just nice one. This is the most popular single according to Spotify. It's like a sleepy kind of blue collar trudge along, I'd have to say here. Just basic brunch makeshift, I'd have to say. Good basic brunch makeshift top, I'd have to say about it. Just cool cruise around, I definitely feel like. But this one, just some good cool, the song is some cool cruise around pep, I'd have to say here within the fashion behind. So this is basically one, just within the fashion behind as far as those aspects kind of go. Just the concept of, there are some songs on here that do feel like some dreary kind of after hours type moments, or just the commerce of this kind of probably somewhere between like 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning, just brunch type makeshift within pitch, and just something that just has a little bit of pep. There's another song that's kind of like that on here, like Colorful is kind of like that, but this is just one, probably the closest thing to something that once again is not a part of the night scenes. There's probably only about 2 songs on here that don't have like a particular kind of social kind of pizzazz factor about it, but this is just like the makeshift of just like a spicy life just within the pitch, as far as just kind of the consistent outs of disc, kind of some breathers just with an aspect of like, hey, things have been going along with just kind of concept of like some quick fashions in a more kind of melded down type mode. So it's a good type tone for some of that. This, yeah, this just some breather type music, this basic kind of in between type fashions. It's relatively snappy within a sense, but it's a good type concept. And this is kind of like a dance song within a minor type sense. It just doesn't have the pace of it and like the verses. It does have some of the electronica type glitz about it. So this is kind of the tone. It is kind of like the same night where you'd have some of that type fashions, but just kind of late, just within the fashion, not being so much at like the venue as far as this pitch can go, but just within the same night within the pitches, whether it's before or after, I'd say. So it's a good type tone, nice, good overall pizzazz about it. Just good, like this is sort of way that I think makeshift songs should probably be more often. This has a lot of spice about it within the tone of just having like the glamour of like typical kind of plainer type makeshift type appeal within it, not quite as full bound spicy, but within the pitch is still having that glitz of just like a typical kind of outing type aspect of just like, yep, it's, you know, I'm gonna spark some excitement within those pitches. So it's good type tone, this kind of concept, but just kind of meet you halfway of having that glitz and glamour, but also within a makeshift kind of more Starbucks type commerce with this. So it's good type tone. Girls, Girls, Boys, third single here. Now, this is a real nice one. This is a good song to go along with Miss Jackson. This one's a little bit more amidst like the dance bar and karaoke bar pitches like that. It's like a butter smooth kind of karaoke bar fog, I'd have to say here. Good venue ambience, I'd have to say, and groove definitely. And it's like some after hours jazz kind of get here. So it's just the concept of some of these type ones. Real nice, good pizzazz about some of these particular factors. Real nice, good pizzazz about some of these night type fares within it. Just good pitch for that. Just the concept of this, having some drinks in your system, just kind of zoning out a bit, just concentrating on like the night appeal and pitches like that is a good concept for just having like some good food in your system, just the pizzazz of just enjoying like the, you know, basic prowl of the scene as far as those fares can go. Just good type concept. Really, the vocals on here are pretty good. I mean, the melodies on this particular product, Brendan Urie really nails the vibes of this particular album, so it's just good type pitch to be able to get this. Just the atmosphere of it just really has connecting kind of vibes as far as this pitch can go. So just real spark of what it does. And then Nicotine is the fourth single. This is another nice one. This is kind of like the more opposite of something like This Is Gospel. There's two songs for like the venues and night scene, and then there's two songs for like the commerce and getting towards or retiring from concepts of it. But I'd say Nicotine or This Is Gospel might be more of like a retire after the moments of just got done with it. Nicotine's more the concept of getting ready to do it within the pitches. I'd say Nicotine's like a sparkly kind of food for thought romping to kind of get here, just social rumination, definitely within the pitch. Just by that, I mean just the concept of just extra thoughts on your mind within the pitch, but just kind of the concept of just being out and about with it, just not at home within the pitch as far as what's first going to happen. Just a good primer for on the scene. This is like a good primer for on the scene as far as getting ready to step out. Just one of those type days for feeling snazzy as far as this pitch going to happen. So just good type tone for like, yep, I'm going to do some stuff tonight, some good fares for that as far as those aspects going to go. Just nice, good spice of just the particular atmosphere, just feeling jiving electric as far as those first going to go. So good type concept, just basic pitch within that. Definitely goes with girls, boys, and within a more restaurant type sense or a more sports bar type sense, I'd say Miss Jackson with the pitch. But it's just kind of the concept, whether it is a restaurant or a dance club, this works with the fair with it. But yeah, so I'm not going to review the Japanese and Target bonus tracks just because I think these songs can't fight against the youth, and just because the particular bonus songs can't fight against the youth and all the boys, I think are on the Nicotine EP, so we'll get to that down the road, I'd have to say. But the concept out of the 10 songs in this original package, the only song I don't recommend is just the last song you hear on here, The End of All Things. Basically, that one to say about that one is just the concept. It's just kind of like a more kind of like The End of All Things, just kind of an electro type ballad within the pitch behind it. Just didn't really nail the appeal. I mean, it did like the ballad type aspect of just something a little bit more, not necessarily personal, but just the pitch of just a little bit more down tempo within the sense, but did like an electronica kind of a more down tempo type vibe, just within a more electronica kind of Daft Punk type vibe within the pitch behind, but it just didn't pull it off as full blown well as it probably needed to. I mean, within the pitch, most of this is just kind of a shot in the arm in terms of like the explosiveness and the overall spice and like the bite of it within the pitch behind it. Most of this is just pretty glamorous night scene, but the only concept about, I mean, the two songs that also slow down the tempo, which would be Colorful and This Is Gospel, just nail that vibe a little bit better. But in terms of something that's actually has a little bit more kind of hard on its sleeve within the pitch, as far as something that's just not quite as just like frivolous within the pitch, is this kind of concept just didn't nail the vibe as far as like the pitch. But I mean, there are moments like when you think of that, I think there were some probably ones that just nailed that particular vibe better on like the 2005 album. For the most part, this is just like basically like a good Thursday kind of Thursday, Friday, Saturday type album within the pitch. So it's just within tone, just the aspect just didn't seem to nail the aspect this time. But this album still gets a classic score, so 10 out of 10. So the other 5 songs on here within those pitches just nail it excellently within the pitch. Some of these are just interchangeable with like Dance Nights. Vegas Lights is like a neighborhood romp night pizzazz kind of get here, I'd say. Just Glamorous kind of bar hop and restaurant jangles within those pitches, just some social heat. But if you do appreciate like the vibes of This Is Gospel, Colorful is like a real nice one here. It's like a peppy kind of new wave commerce kind of get. It's like some 4 or 5 a.m. kind of feeling chipper, kind of drunken Waffle House and Denny's type trekking kind of get within those pitches. Just kind of the concept of this feeling alive in like the pink skies, like the morning. It's kind of the concept of feeling alive and electric and like the morning dew of like the pink skies, just within the after hours type fare. Just pretty much after like the bar hop scene is basically over, but maybe you do have a little bit of extra spark and energy for a little bit more of like a kick as far as those pitches kind of go. Just, I mean, what I would almost see within the pitch is just definitely like some breakfast type music, just after hours probably, where, you know, like the after effects of like the sludge or like the night scene would kind of be sauntering on over to Waffle House, some places like that, I'd say within the pitch. But it also has some good pep, just kind of a concept of like that good kind of embrace of if you are kind of like a morning bird, some pitches like that, just kind of easily when the sunrise is happening, pitches like that, just a good feeling chipper type song within the pitch, just some morning hustle. It's kind of about just real nice snappy up tempo type song for like some good groove to kind of have like that morning mist as far as what's first gonna happen. Just kind of where I feel like This Is Gospel, it's a little bit more sleepy. I feel like This Is Gospel is just a little bit more sleepy within the tone behind it. It's more of like a trudge along within the pitch, standard kind of typical commerce, but Colorful is just a little bit more Colorful just has a little bit more drive within the pitch, but it's a good type tone. Far Too Young to Die is a nice one on here as well. It's like a slow dance and kind of rosy late groove, I'd have to say, within those pitches. Just down tempo kind of dance highlight, I'd say here. Just good romantic type fare within the pitch behind it. Just further night heat as far as those aspects kind of go. So just the pitch. There are some songs like that. One of those type ones, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th single off of Fever You Can't Sweat Out. Basically like a song like it, but it's better if you do some of those type pitches, just more on like a dance floor as far as those pitches can happen. So it's just good type aspects as far as those first gonna go. Just good type pitch. Basically, just I mean, there's actually not a ton because this album is so snappy within the pitch. There's not actually like a ton of clones for each particular song as to how those aspects are going to go, but it's just a good type pitch, kind of get some of that. Basically, like the closest thing to like this is probably like the most romantic song on this particular album. I'd have to say is Far Too Young to Die within the pitch, but it's good type tone. Casual Affair is a nice one on here as well. It's like a stock kind of vicious night thrilliness kind of get here, just haywire kind of vibes that I'd say. Some Friday Loud Pack definitely, and it's like some night booth kind of rumination. So this just really amidst like the pounding kind of dance club heat as far as this first going to happen enough to where maybe the thrills are just so high that you do have to kind of catch a vibe a little bit, catch a few breathers within the pitch. It's kind of the concept that's real. I mean, the production, the instrumentation on this particular album is pretty glitzy and overall star-studded within the pitch behind, but just the aspects of just like some of that poundiness of this kind of concept of like the blistering type flair of this particular product. Just some moments for kind of this a little bit more mingle in mind compared to like the concept. I mean, I think some of these, I think Casual Affair can kind of pull off the dance vibes was just in the pitch as far as having like some extra moments of just like the actual smooth factor about it as well as far as those go. Having some schmooze factor about it as well as far as those fairs can happen. So it's just good type tone, it's good consistent type fair of dance club type heat, I'd say. And then Girl That You Love is a nice one within those pitches as well. It's like an oozing kind of dance club smash kind of get here, just a visceral feel of the night kind of demon time decor as far as those pitches can happen, just stock CD hitter within those aspects. Yeah, Girl That You Love is, yeah, very visceral song to kind of get here. Just real head trip of one, like a dance club type smash. Not so much drug usage is full blown, but just the pitch of really feeling like the vibe of just like some poundiness. This real pulsating type one, like the quality of just like the sensory overload of it. Yeah, like I was saying, just to feel the night, just definitely like a feel the night type song. Just appreciate the times, just really get lost in the moments as far as those pitch can happen. Just some demon time decor, like I was saying, good concept for that. It's definite stock CD hit and album cut as far as those first can happen. So this album's just packed to the gills with these. The same sort of fair with Vegas Lights. I feel like Vegas Lights, Girl That You Love kind of goes like a 1-2 punch within the pitch behind it, but really just a lot of these just have that appeal as well. Girls, Boys is a nice one for some of that type fair just within the pitch behind it. Casual Affair would probably go with that as well. So there's just plenty of these within the pitch behind. Within this snappy album, just most of this is just like some Friday kind of dancey within the pitch, Thursday pitches like that as far as those fairs can happen. So just within the aspect, but yeah. So I think I talked about every song in here as far as those fairs going to go just in the pitch. So basically, like I was saying, this album gets a 10 out of 10. The social score I will give a 10 out of 10 within the pitch. Now, just because the fact that I realized it did have 4 singles within the pitch, and some of these, like the trajectory, it kind of seems like, yeah, they were relatively large within the aspect of what they did. Definitely some commercial type fairs within it, but it is kind of the concept that in terms of something that was like a pop rock kind of smash where it's going to be on like rhythm, I think the chances are you'd probably hear this within more of like a rhythmic type radio within a relative type sense, but it just depends upon how widespread the singles that they play kind of is, because I do think it had some huge songs on here, but just in the pitch behind it is questioned, like they weren't at the top of the charts. That's the only thing, but I'm still going to give this album a 10 just because the blistering type appeal is really a clever type project. It's just ignites like the fashion and like the night glitz of like a fever you can't sweat out and vices and virtues, and then multiplies it. So it's just good type pitch. Definitely probably one of their best albums. Now it's not to say that they don't have further best albums, but this is definitely some glitzy. This is definitely like a shot in the arm in terms of like the social night scene, just some overall pizzazz that really has some step outs. So it's just one the pitch, has some makeshift songs on here on top of that, some good romantic type songs just with an aspect of like some good just night scene between about pretty much for the most part this album is just between 6 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock at night to about 9 o'clock in the morning, just between like late night type fashion to like the night scene to about the brunch type or to like the early aspects about the brunch type commerce within the pitch behind. So just that particular fair, a little bit of Starbucks, Target type commerce within the morning type mist, but then also the concept like the concept of like some sparking kind of fresh night type scene within the pitch behind. So it's just good type glitz for that particular type of appeal. So that's just a tone. But in terms of the future, like Panic at the Disco supposedly broke up or retired within the pitches behind it. It's unfortunate because Brendan Urie really had some hit albums here within the pitch behind it. Just definitely some nice ones. I remember giving Vices and Virtues like a real high score. Same thing with The Fever You Can't Sweat Out. And I think, actually the fact about it, even though Pretty Odd was kind of an oddball type album, it did have some relative good appeals. It was a clever type project within the pitch behind it, but I think it was just a little bit more left field within the pitch compared to the rest of their albums within the fair. I think folks just wanted a sequel to Fever You Can't Sweat Out, but all 4 of those are pretty excellent within the pitch. They all have their sparks and appeals behind it, but this is definitely like a vicious type one. It's very similar to vibes like LMFAO, Blood on the Dance Floor, Pitbull, and like his electronica haze pitches like that. Some of those type fairs, just this real romping type one that just nails these particular vibes. Try some new tricks. It's not like the theater type aspects of their 2000s and early 2010s type fair, but it still nails some new aspects and really has like a good social jolt that's very catchy.